Well, somehow, some way, I found time to revisit Rebel Moon because, of course, there's a longer, extended director's cut. Yes, 2 Snyder cuts of Rebel Moon. Well, part 1, part 2, you know. Which, again, it's Netflix. I think the best approach would have been to fix this up as a series, however limited, and present it as that. However, there's really not a lot of material. Although, given time, if you did like I don't know, 8 to 10 episodes for part 1, and you added in more action on their recruiting the band they needed to defend the moon from the evil forces, then it might have worked out. I mean, you have seen things with, especially with the guy who has to tame the big bird and all that sort of stuff. I could have had a little more of that. And if there was means by which he keeps the bird. But the robot, and there's this, it's not really a violation of Chekhov's law. I guess in the original cut, it almost is even more so. Here you get, of course, it expands upon it, and you get more narrative for the robot. So it cuts to him, and you see how he ends up looking the way he does by the end of the movie, as the robot is rediscovering his purpose. His original purpose was to defend the royal family. They are no more. And the main one he was inspired by was the little girl, the princess, who has these magic resurrection powers. I mean, she brings a bird back from the dead, and Cora witnesses that, and all that sort of stuff. And the elements of that, it would seem that approaching this story, you would have thought, oh, is Cora the princess in hiding? You know, you could have done something like that. Then there's the girl that's on the farm planet. Oh, could that be the girl growing up and they just don't realize it? And that's how she sparks the robot. But right off the bat, the nasty soldiers, they do present that these robots were, very dangerous and brutal robot soldiers and whatnot in their defense of the royal family. And when the royal family died, they lost all purpose, and so now it's just some working stiff, that they use to haul stuff, and they abuse it and all that. The overall thing that I would have thought could have been a cool thing, where you kind of don't even need the rest of the army that they were cobbling together. You've got this super powered robot who obeys the girl, if she turned out to be the princess or something like that. And he just wipes them all out. And then it's the girl and her super robot. That could have been a cool approach to the whole narrative. But it wasn't to be, as we know. The extra scenes and expansion upon it doesn't correct anything like that. So you get an introduction to the villain at the opening of it to just show you what a nasty guy he is. And it kind of takes away from the ultimate scene from the original run of this, where it, it's coming because everybody's scared, and he's dressed up like a nasty marching in, and then suddenly he murders the leader of the farming community. Well, you already see him do this, although he forces someone else to do it in the opening. And there's this whole setup. They're taking down this planet, and every time they do this, they attack the ruling family or what have you. Here you have this, I guess he was a king or some sort. He was the leader of this world, and they decided to take him out. And he makes the guy's son kill him, and the father is saying, yeah, go ahead and do it, and all that. So that's how that unfolds. And then he had promised you can save your mother and sisters if you do this, and then the kid does it, and he's broken and all this stuff, and they drag him away. And then, of course, Mr. Nasty goes ahead and beats the mother and daughters to death. So it was all for nothing. But in this scene, and you show this, that's really unnecessary in that it just demonstrates, hey, this guy's evil. Well, yes. You're going to demonstrate that very quickly. Well, not quickly. It's all this slow motion and stuff to get there after they introduce you to the farming community and all that. But the bad guys arrive, and something bad's about to happen to spark this whole thing. But leading up to this king or leader of that world, they were hanging on to this little caged, I don't know, space goblin or monkey or whatever. And it's like, why are they hanging on to their pet? They're being chased by the invading armies, the city's in flames and all this stuff. And finally, the father tells something to the little monkey and tells him they're going to kill my family or what have you. And the little monkey seems to understand him. And so the little monkey goes to confront the soldiers. And suddenly he has this ability to explode, almost like a tactical nuke. And so he does. He sacrifices himself for the family, and explodes and all that. And you can see it on the horizon and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, well, that was their plan. And I wonder what this is all about and what this could signify. I'm guessing this gave them the time to escape or something like this. This is another potential ally if they want to pursue this story later, that kind of thing. Nah, he just went a few steps and waits for the nasties to show up and massacre his family. The poor little monkey blew himself up for nothing. Yeah. Bought him a couple of minutes, I guess. I don't know. So, it's just you're better off taking the scene out, because it doesn't really do anything. And then, it's things like this. It's like, why? Why would you bother? And then the robot, you introduce him and all this stuff about how important he is, and then never really utilize him until the very end. And a lot of it is just, well, he has feelings. He's a robot. It would make sense if you kept it within the narrative they set up, where the programming, his warlike nature and programming is activated when he feels he has someone to defend and whatnot. And they kind of do this, but it would have been more to the point if you revealed that, yes, that's what this is. This is why Cora is there. She's watching over this girl, that kind of thing. That could have been a cool setup for it overall. Whereas it really didn't have much. She's just disillusioned and upset about she was framed for the murder of the royal family after she just becomes the stepdaughter of this brutal monster who overthrows the royal family to take power, the very monster who massacred her own family and all that. So it doesn't come together. So dragging it out even longer doesn't help much. There's more details and backstory here and there, but ultimately it's the same run through of the the Battle Beyond the Stars plot, where you've got to gather these rogues to come together and defend against bad guys. And so you get a little bit more. There's some cool scenes and stuff like that here and there that weren't in the original presentation, but it's just a cool scene. Meanwhile, the color scheme is very lacking, and that just seems to be something Zack Snyder likes to do. I don't, he did it with his DC stuff and all that. Even though, for the most part, he's very impressive with the volume room technology and green screen and stuff like that. Certainly in Army of the Dead, which I think was a terrible movie. Plot-wise, it just has a massive plot hole almost from the beginning in it, and yet it looked incredible. I mean, when I realized just how unreal all that stuff was, and how he shot it and everything, it just, I don't know, it just worked together and came together better. He does it better than some. I've seen some bad takes on this where it becomes so painfully obvious that it's just a bunch of people standing around in a room. And eventually, when you get to the climactic battle at the end, which is a trap they walk right into, but she was starting to develop a crush on the evil Han Solo of this story, who's actually a traitor. But it's just they go from one landing site, and it's a landing strip of sorts. So it's like, oh well, you can explain why it's just this flat expanse where they're standing around. They're supplying a ship and getting ready to leave, and they're meeting up with the rebel army, and the guy agrees to, yeah, I'm gonna help them. They take off. They go to yet another landing strip there, and that's where the trap is sprung and all that. But it's painfully obvious you're in a room. It doesn't come across well. They get into the action and stuff, and there's some things are okay with it, and others it's just laughable and that sort of thing. But it's all the same problems, because it's basically it's a lot of it's the same plot and what have you. So nothing extra footage doesn't really fix all of that for it. But well, it is what it is, of course. However, I am reminded of some things that I would say was not too bad about it, because for a while you thought the main boyfriend here, that's already at the outset is in love with Cora, and is just all in awe of her and everything, and that he's just going to be a joke throughout, as she has to save him and stuff. But no, he saves her. He does. He has to learn how to do all of this. He's been nothing but this guy on a farm. He foolishly tries to make peace with the evil people and ends up getting his leader killed and all that sort of stuff. So there's kind of a good development story here for him in that line there. It's just kind of cluttered with a lot of unnecessary stuff along the way, and just not very engaging or compelling characters and whatnot, and not really given enough room, oddly enough, despite all the time spent on this, just showing slow motion scenes and expanses of landscapes and all this sort of thing, without letting the characters breathe. And a lot of scenes just seem to be going through the motions. She's got to go get General Titus. He's broken and defeated and wants to stay drunk all the time. And she just kind of barks at him, and then he's like, yeah, all right. So he's back on to lead this ragtag army and all that. But ultimately, the boyfriend character, and there's a few scenes where it shows that he does have some courage and some bravery. He saves the little girl from the crazy spider lady and all that sort of thing. And that he's up to the job, and ultimately they're pretty much done. They walk into the trap, they're stuck, they're about to be killed, and evil Han Solo is determined to make him kill Cora, and unwittingly, because he didn't respect this guy, he underestimated him, and at the last minute, no, he actually kills him, saving Cora, and the fight's on, and they actually win. So that's actually a very good positive for it, but man, it's a long way to get there. It's all kinds of stuff that, if there were all these cool little adventures, they went, but they weren't very adventurous for the most part. You get the guy taming the bird, and that's kind of all right, cool. You got the lightsaber lady fighting the sad spider monster, and but then it's just kind of over. It seems like she could have killed that spider lady a lot quicker than she did, because now she just guts her. It's like, well, what are you waiting for? That kind of thing. But and Titus is drunk, and then she just yells at him, and he's okay, I'll come. And that's that. So yes, didn't really change my mind about it, about how disappointing it all was. But here now he's going to pursue a police drama of some sort. I don't know if it's going to be a series or a film in and of itself. I think it's going to actually be a series. So I think here that's what he should have done. But then again, it would have been played out like this, because I watched this in segments. I didn't watch it all at once because I just couldn't. It's too long. But you would have needed to spice up some action and adventure to at least distract away from not a lot of material here, So basically, this is Star Wars if Luke and Leia were not siblings, and Leia was hiding out from the Empire on Tatooine, and you know, Luke has a crush on her, and then she's got to teach him how to fight, you know. That's kind of what it was for this. And then Han Solo is just an absolute evil bastard who betrays them. Yeah. Oh boy, that wouldn't go well, would it? Yeah, and Darth Vader's some kind of weird pervert into tentacles and stuff. That's what you get here from Rebel Moon. I am watching very slowly. I've only gotten into 2 episodes of Twilight of the Gods. I could do without all the porn in it. But beyond that, it might be the better effort. Disappointed in Army of the Dead and disappointed in Rebel Moon. I'll get to part 2, the director's cut, at some point. And but again, I'll have the same conclusion as I did on the original version. So, but still, you know, just to look at, well, what's the extras here, and but even if it's the same thing, you know, I'm sure they look cool and all that. And here, there was a couple of cool scenes here and there, but you know, you just can't save it, and that's unfortunate because I had high hopes for these endeavors, and well, and I just expect it to be okay, or you know, a little fun or something, but no, it wasn't even that. So it's unfortunate, but I don't know, maybe the police thing will be cool. Check that out. Anyway, there you go, revisiting Rebel Moon, A Child of Fire, director's cut, part 1.